Mayor Freiling, members of council, as I'm sure with everybody in the community, is keeping a close eye on Hurricane Florence. We've had several conference calls with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management and the National Weather Service over the last few days, keeping the most current information, receiving the most current information on the storm. We had conference calls today. As of the latest forecast, Hurricane Florence has increased to a Category 4 storm with wind speed of 130 miles an hour. It's still anticipated that the storm will make landfall along the North Carolina coast. Some models have it a little bit more to the south of Wilmington, North Carolina. Some models have it directly into Wilmington, North Carolina, and that could happen, that's anticipated to happen on Thursday. We could start experiencing tropical storm force winds as early as Wednesday evening and definitely by Thursday morning. One of the things that's really concerning in the forecast for our particular area and really the Commonwealth of Virginia is the models are starting to agree that once the storm makes landfall, it's going to stall, which right as of today they're saying could cover the Commonwealth in 7 to 15 inches of rain in a short period of time, and then linger for several days. And with the ground already being saturated and any wind speed at all, we're going to see uprooted trees. And I would assume we're going to see significant power outages. The storm surge for coastal areas is anticipated to be catastrophic. The governor is supposed to have a press conference later today indicating they're going to recommend evacuation of Zone A on the flood maps. For anybody that's watching the Know Your Zone map that was created 2 years ago in the Commonwealth, you can go online at Know Your Zone, Virginia Know Your Zone, and you can type in your address and it'll tell you whether you're in a flood zone, an indicated flood zone. Fortunately for the city of Williamsburg, we're not in any of those flood-prone areas, and we're not indicated as a zone. There's only 4 zones. Those Zone A areas are low-lying areas on coastal Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, some in Poquoson and York County. So as you can imagine, it may be an impact to Williamsburg if those people choose to evacuate, that we may see an influx of people into the area looking for lodging until the storm passes. So that's one of the things that we're considering as we begin our preparations. We continue to coordinate with VDEM and the National Weather Service and also our neighboring localities, James City County and York County, as we begin the city's making preparations for to deal with this storm. We just had an executive team meeting just prior to this meeting to make sure that we're all making those necessary preparations for the worst impact from this storm. Some of the things we really encourage the community is, even though we're not in a flood-prone area, one of the things to consider is if we get that amount of rain, the system, our drainage system just can't handle that amount of rain in a short period of time. So we could see some flooding, localized flooding on the streets and, basement areas that I know may have some flooding issues as well. We always encourage people not to try to drive through those flooded areas. As you can see from some of the storms last year, there's one of the number one cause of death in any hurricane is from drowning and flooding issues. So encourage people not to try to drive through those flooded areas. We'll be keeping everyone up to date with media, talking to Leanne, social media, and the website. She'll put the banner up tomorrow on the website, which will be an area that citizens can go, excuse me, and obtain all the information related to the storm. I also encourage everyone to make sure now is the time to prepare. Make sure that you have a kit that you could sustain for 72 hours. That's water, batteries, flashlights. Make sure you take your medications with you, those kind of things. So in the event you're without power, that you could sustain for 72 hours. Also, now's the time to clean up any of that debris outside of your home that might be blown around with increased winds. And really encourage everyone to sign up for Williamsburg Alerts. If they have not, go to our website and look for Williamsburg Alerts. We'll be sending out emergency messages as necessary through Williamsburg Alerts, so I really encourage everyone to take advantage of that. Also, another problem that we've experienced in the past, a couple of problems, is make sure if you're using a generator that you do so safely and you're not using it indoors for carbon monoxide issues, and also if there's down power lines, to stay away from those power lines. You just consider every power line that's energized, and we've had issues in the past where you don't realize that even within 3 feet of a power line, you can still experience electrical shock. We've had several questions today about already about our shelter. We don't have any plans at this time to activate the shelter, but as soon as that becomes necessary, we'll put that information out so that everyone in the community is aware that the shelter is activated and operational if they need to evacuate their property. I think that's some of the highlights coming up. We'll continue to monitor the storm and also have conference calls with VDEM and the National Weather Service and continue to communicate amongst our executive staff, and we're preparing an EOC staffing roster, so if we, in the event we need to prepare, activate our Emergency Operations Center, we'll be prepared to do that as well.
Questions for Chief Dent?